Good morning.
Hi, Leith. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, and you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Excellent. How's your Wednesday treating you so far?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty busy,
That's
but
good. Good.
quickly. How about you?
Yeah, good. Just diving into lots of different things this morning, working on some magazine creative and then a Google business profile. So it's definitely varied.
Yeah, nice. That's
Yeah. So thank you so much for making time to chat today, all things brand.
good.
Um, I am going to throw you straight in there and make sure we get the most out of the 90 minutes.
Okay.
Um, some of the questions you may feel like, asked and answered from the
Yeah.
questionnaire. So if there's anything that you feel like, we're just rehashing old ground, then that's totally fine. We can just skip through those ones. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I usually like run in order of this questionnaire that I have, but I'm
Okay.
actually going to start at the end because sometimes I find I run out of time, and these are the questions I actually really enjoy because there's something a bit
Okay.
different than what's on the questionnaire.
Sure.
So, under personality and voice, so are there any keywords that you would use to describe your brand as a person? So you could use either describing words or like a real life or pop culture figure. If you had to personify your brand, is there anyone that kind of comes to mind?
Um, Probably just trustworthy is probably trustworthy. Um,
Who's someone on TV or someone that we feel like is just like just super trustworthy that like,
Super trustworthy. That's a very good question.
hmm,
Uh,
just trying to think if there's like a well-known personality that has that, that gravitas and that, like that, whatever they're telling you, it's like, it's the real
yeah,
deal. Maybe we can put a pin in it
yeah.
if you want to,
I'm gonna put
like,
a
if
pin
you
in
want to
that.
mull on that, and we can always circle back.
Yeah,
This one potentially might be easier to answer. So when we think about the anti-brand personality, so like who are we just instantly not like? And like a really easy one to poke at is Donald Trump, assuming
yeah.
you're not a Trumpy.
Yeah. Just like basically any politician, just politicians in general.
Yeah, got
Yeah,
it. They're super easy because you can't really trust
yeah,
anything that's coming out of their mouth.
yeah.
So, and it doesn't necessarily have to be restricted to your industry necessarily, but totally fine if that's what comes to mind for you. So, when you think about brands that you aspire to be like, is there anyone or any brand that comes to mind? And it could just be for their values. It could be you think they've got really incredible messaging or branding. So yeah, is there anyone that springs to mind?
Probably Empire Legal in my field, just because they've got a much bigger team, they're a much bigger firm, but
Mm,
they kind of sit in that in between space where they post some fun stuff, they post some serious stuff, they kind of have like a really good mix in between there.
nice.
Um, I don't want to be as big or as them or anything like that, but I guess that's a brand that I look to and go, oh, wow, that's really good what they're doing, sort of thing. So
Awesome. That's
yeah,
so good to have someone that you like, I can see they're a couple of steps down the road and it gives you something like, while you don't want your business to completely emulate, maybe the size of what they're doing. I think that's really important to sort of see like this is what the goalpost is, what I'm kind of aiming for.
yeah.
Um, so when it comes to like the brand tone, um, are there any sort of like, I guess, particular keywords or like an immediate idea around tone that comes to mind? Like, do you think you like a little bit of that like relatable, funny, or is it more serious versus like playful or, maybe respectful?
Probably somewhere that like it's probably more serious because I guess it's for most people it's a pretty big deal buying it and
Oh,
selling.
yeah.
So but also like I guess not too serious as well. So in
Mm,
some parts of it can be a little bit more lighthearted, but I
yeah.
guess needs to be authoritative in not authoritative in like dictator terms, but authoritative of like knowledge and expertise.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I guess just having that that
Striking that balance.
yeah, striking that balance that's kind of
Yeah.
like um we don't take up we know that what we do is serious, but we don't take ourselves too seriously
I love
outside
that.
of the office sort of thing. Like,
Yeah. So when it
yeah,
comes to business and getting the job done, like, we are all business, but then,
yeah,
outside of that, we have personality.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. So that sort of leans really nicely into it's sort of like, I guess, a bit of a chart. So if you thought on one end we've got funny and then on the other end we've got serious, are we thinking we kind of sit sort of more leaning towards the serious side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So like I guess center like to the middle in between serious where the middle
Yeah.
is and yeah, serious is
Yeah. Gotcha. Awesome. And then if we keep thinking in terms of that sort of scale, if we've got formal on one side and then casual on the other.
probably like bang in the middle, I would
Yeah.
think, because people, I guess when you're looking at some people don't want it to like come across as like too abrupt. They want it to be easy to view. Like they don't want
Yeah.
it to be
Easily
like you're
digestible.
yeah, don't want it to be like you're yelling at them.
Yeah. Or like all jargon. Like
Yeah.
can feel very like ugh in your face. So between sort of like irreverent, like a bit offhand, a bit, well, laissez-faire versus respectful.
Probably more very much respectful.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, you're right. Because of that, the time of their life that they're in, it's a big decision.
Yeah.
They need to feel like, yeah, we're definitely up there on respectful. So the next one is matter of fact at one end and passionate at the other.
Hmm.
This is a tricky one.
It is because it's kind of like you're passionate about what I do, but it's
Mm,
sometimes it is sometimes the way things are. It's just matter of fact, like that's just the way it is. Like you,
yeah, yeah,
um, I guess yeah, in between, I'd say if I had to pick one,
yeah. And then somewhere between youthful and mature.
probably more mature.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, definitely.
Um, yeah, just because I guess if you go too youthful, you're potentially alienating a large section of your audience, and the people
Mm,
that I get probably were like, well, I'd prefer someone a bit more mature to be looking after.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's so funny because like when I think back to like I was in my early 20s when I was selling real estate and sometimes I'm just like, because obviously at the time you don't know what you don't know. And then I look
yeah.
back and I'm like, wow, like I can't believe people listed their house with me. Wild. Awesome. Great job. So we're moving into brand positioning. So I feel like you've pretty clearly articulated this in the questionnaires, but just in case anything additional springs to mind for you.
Yeah.
So when we think about key differences, listing what makes your brand stand out, it can be either just like single words or a phrase. So yeah, what comes to
Uh,
mind?
I guess just the two big things is that it's just like availability,
Mm,
and I guess just trying to like personalized. Like they're not just a number in a factory. They deal with me. They don't just get put into the system and farmed off to someone else.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
And
I
I
guess
think,
yeah, availability and personalization of the like you're not just yeah, not just another number.
it's something you said in the questionnaire really like hit the nail on the head for me because these days people are almost expecting that they're speaking to a bot. Like
Yeah.
not even a junior. Like it's like now they've been like downgraded, not downgraded because I get the immediacy, it's helpful in some situations to just get a quick answer, but it can be really frustrating as a customer to feel like, oh, for God's sake, I just want to talk to a real person.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that particularly with the environment around AI now is going to be really gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we think about functional benefits, like what are the practical or functional benefits that, working with your brand provides to your customers?
I think it would just be that I'm with them from the start through to the finish, sort of thing like that.
Mm,
And I can hold their hand, or I can kind of like, just depending on the client's needs as well. Like, sometimes it's some clients are a bit more needy than others.
yeah.
And so sometimes the amount of hand holding you need to do, and others are just like, just contact me when you need something. I don't really want to hear from you unless it's
Yeah.
so
So
it
do
just
you,
depends on the
oh,
client.
sorry to
It's more
cut you
it's very
off.
customized, I guess.
Yeah. This is just purely out of interest. Is there any like rhyme or reason when it comes to the clients that you find do need a little bit more, TLC? Do they tend to be, I don't know, first home buyers or maybe older single women
There
or
is
I don't know,
rhyme
is
or
there?
reason behind it sometimes. Sometimes it is just their personalities more so
Yeah.
than others.
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
had first time buyers who are just like, yeah, like
Sweet.
very hands off. And then I've had people that are like buying their, 10th investment property that are very hands on and just like,
Yeah, wow.
been through this before, guys. Like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah, yeah. It's so funny, like, because my stepfather, he was the principal at the office I worked at, and he
Yeah,
said, realistically, real estate is easy, but he said the thing that makes it hard is people. So he's
yeah,
like, if we could just, go from start to finish of the process, it's super simple. What makes it tricky to navigate is like everybody's so different. Like, and yeah, like you're saying, the what they need out of that professional relationship can
yeah, absolutely.
vary. Awesome. So then moving into the emotional benefits, and I guess like I feel like there's almost overlap there between the functional and the emotional because like the way I think about it is like the functional thing is they know they're not entering a contract that's, dodgy, or they're not, signing their life away for, you know, they've got that peace of mind and the advice, and they know that you're in their corner. So, like, if the other side tries to get something over them, like you're going to fight for their interests. And then, like, the emotional, I would say, like, yeah, knowing that you've got like that peace of mind. So it's almost like it tips back and forth between
Yeah.
functional and emotional.
Hmm.
Is there any other specific, like, emotional benefits you can think of other than that, like peace of mind?
I don't think so. I think that's really, yeah, nothing that sticks out.
Mm, yep. So they just feel that confidence of like, I'm going into this. I know I know, within reason, like what they need to know.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you're going to fight for them if need be.
yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So this is an interesting one. Philosophical benefits. What philosophical problem do you solve for your customers and what do they deserve? Oh, it's an interesting one. Little
I
take on.
guess knowing that they are supporting a small business that
Yeah.
might help them know that I um I sponsor a couple of different community events. I've actually got a link on my website for community involvement. So if any like local clubs want to seek sponsorship, they can um
Oh, awesome.
have an like apply for it. I'll post like no one actually has yet, but the link is there and there's a form for people to fill out.
Oh, that's
Like
so great.
if they want to need to consider sponsoring um their organization or like a sporting team or something like that. So
Wow. That's like,
I guess
it feels like that
community,
community grassroots kind of
yeah,
like,
giving
yeah.
back to the community sort of thing. So yeah, I'd say that like supporting a small business and just yeah, community give back.
And like, I don't know what you think about this. Do you feel like, is there also an element of like, you're helping them to achieve, I guess, the Australian dream of like,
Yeah,
owning a piece of like their own, like, their little bit of Australia kind of thing. Like
yeah,
that's sounds really wanky when you put it like that. But like, I do, it's like it's become super aspirational, like particularly with
Yeah,
cost of living, like, so I feel like there is that element of like, wow, like I'm actually doing the thing. I'm
yeah,
becoming a homeowner. So I'll just put home ownership, like realizing like it's a huge goal because it's like buying a house is right up there with like getting married, having a child. It's like one of those big life milestones that you kind of like,
yeah. And I guess it's also wealth creation as well. Like it's,
yeah,
it's something that depending on how they're doing it, I guess it's just like, it's the start of your property journey, like,
yeah. And like having something to kind of like potentially pass down to your children, and set them up for, like a better
yeah,
life. Yeah. So this one, I always find these like fill the blank kind of situations a little bit tricky on these because like everyone feels like very put on the spot. So this can again, if we're struggling, we can always put a pin in it and I can email it for you
yeah,
to mull over. So the value proposition statement is a summary of where you stand and what you offer your customer that they can't get anywhere else. So it starts with for target audience, like insert the blank, who need like the need or opportunity. Our product or sorry, our service is, oh my God, even I'm getting confused with
be
this.
like for property for property sellers or potential buyers who need a solicitor that is available 7 days a week to assist them with the purchase or selling of a property, um, reviewing a contract and ensuring their rights and interests are protected from start to finish.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, you nailed that. So good. I'm so glad Zoom is recording because like I got about like 75% of it and I lost the tail end. So, oh my gosh, I'm cheering for you because even I blundered the delivery of that and you just nailed it. So someone's had their caffeine this morning.
Yes, I have.
Excellent. So I'm just sort of like scrolling around in my document, don't mind me. Um, so when it comes to competitors, again, yeah, you definitely touched on this in the questionnaires. So there's Empire Legal. I'm trying to remember the others you mentioned. Like I know you
There's
mentioned a couple of the big kind of corporate-y, like franchisey ones.
Yeah, so there's like, by the rules, own it conveyancing, KRG conveyancing. They're probably more of the key law, like they're probably more of um, they compete more on, they seem to compete more on budget than anything else.
Yeah,
And I guess when I started out, I was trying to compete with that. I was like, no, I need to position myself not super high expenses, not super cheap, somewhere in between, so
yeah,
people, um, it's yeah, so that it's not people will feel like they're getting value for money. You're not getting,
yeah,
I always say, people will sometimes say, I'm just like, yeah, but if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys, sort of thing like that. So,
100%. And like, who
um,
wants to be in a race to the bottom? Like,
yeah,
honestly, like,
exactly. And it's not a race that you ever want to win. So,
nah.
yeah, I guess yeah, those are probably, I guess, competitors. Um, but I guess it's not. I always think that there's enough property matters going
Yes.
on for us all. It's just about, I guess, trying to um, give people that may be considering those people with the lower price point, like I guess the value proposition they see. Oh, well, there's value in this. It's not just
Mm.
it's gonna. I'm paying $1 million for a house, but I want to only pay bottom dollar for the
Yeah.
or as a real estate agent, I'm happy selling my house, happy to pay the agent, $30,000 to sell my house, but I only want to pay the solicitor who completes it, $500 or something like
Yeah,
that.
wild. Hey, like,
Uh,
it just doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just yeah, just I guess trying to make people feel that like when they are working with me, it's not I'm not trying to compete with the other firms that are there. I want to kind of, I guess, run my own race.
Mm. Yeah,
And
I love that.
not necessarily worry about what they're doing and just focus on what I'm doing. So I keep doing what I'm doing, I'll be fine.
Yeah, just like staying in your lane, like,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I think the more you start to look outward, you can just end up getting an analysis paralysis and you're like, second guess yourself. So yeah, 100%. I think that's the best way
Yeah.
to go.
I mean,
So,
sometimes it's interesting seeing what other people are doing, and then you're just like, oh, that's interesting. Like
mm,
sometimes be like, oh, that's interesting way of doing it, but then it's like, well, and that's kind of like, the whole purpose of this rebrand is I want to be able to have that identity out there, so that I guess when people see it or when I'm posting stuff, it's just a bit more recognizable. It's you
yes,
know, that is where it's like that
absolutely.
I want to compete with them on, is that brand recognition, or having the brand out there that's a bit more, yeah, recognizable.
Yeah, and reflective of like where you're at now
Yeah,
as a business.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, I love that mentality. So, I mean, if we had to think about like, is there any element you feel like they're kind of, performing really well or, you know, exceeding at? Like, is there any area that comes to mind? Maybe if you think about Empire Legal
Yeah,
potentially, because they're the aspirational one.
just um I'll just say they're just the way that they engage with people working opposite them. Like they're just, I find them to be like very respectful, very easy to deal with, and very realistic. Like if you give them a call and say, hey, like, this is the background. Email's going to come through regarding this. Like they don't take it. Some people take it really personally when you're
Mm,
emailing stuff or you're saying stuff, even if and they're like, well, just like, this is just, we're going to work together. It's opposite each other again at some other stage. Like we've just got this matter where these things have come up. Let's just
yeah.
work. Uh,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, I mean, I think they do a really good job of protecting their clients' rights and advocating for their client. And I mean, they run it. Their system is very different in terms of they run more, or they have conveyancers working for them, and only a couple of solicitors overseeing the matter.
Hmm.
So it's very different in terms of the way that their output. But I guess their systems that they have in place to allow that to happen, um, are obviously quite good.
Awesome. And then what opportunities do you think? Oh, sorry, I skipped a question. So what are we doing? And when I say we, I mean you.
Yeah,
What are you doing that's better than them? And I think I can probably instantly tick off like just that access
yeah,
on yeah.
yeah. Personal access and availability, are probably the two things that, um, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Do you think there's any opportunities created from like, I guess, their weakness and like, the strength that you offer in terms of like that availability? Like, for
I
lack of
probably
a
think,
better word, can we exploit that or can we like, use that to
I definitely think it is, because it's such a rarity in the market for
Mm,
us to be able to speak to a solicitor on a Saturday afternoon. So I think it's the scarcity of it.
yeah.
Um, the scarcity of that particular service that, I guess that creates the potentially like a niche
Yeah,
that is,
definitely.
I guess, exploitable or marketable.
Yeah, like it sounds like such an ugly word, but yeah, I just mean as in like, squeeze all the juice out of like,
Yeah, yeah,
make the most
exactly.
of.
But I guess when you're talking about it from a business perspective, you are trying to exploit that
Yeah,
advantage in the market.
absolutely. So is there anything that they do that challenges your brand, do you feel?
I don't think so. I think like they run such a different, um they're at a much higher price point than I am. And
Yeah.
they also just run a completely different, like, they've just got so many other people working for them. So I think we're just running two different races.
Really different experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So, when we think about your customers, looking at like who are we talking to and what motivates them in their life. So, in terms of like brand channels and platforms, what channels do you already use to reach your clients? Are you on Facebook, Instagram, like email marketing?
So just Facebook and Instagram. I don't do any email marketing. Um, yeah, mostly just Facebook, Instagram, and then um, I also am part of a business networking group as well.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
yeah,
BNI, which like, I mean, do you find like, because I imagine there'd be a nice little network of people like in property adjacent kind of
yeah,
industries, like, do you find that's really helpful being part of
it
BNI?
is. It is quite helpful, but it's just aside from the networking, it's just great to get out of the office once a week and talk to other small business owners. So
Amen to that. Yeah.
yes,
Actually, you're the first face I'm seeing because I share shared care of my son. And so
oh,
it's
yeah,
literally just been me in the house because I work from home. And I'm like, oh, I get to see a person today.
yeah.
Awesome. So then thinking about the ideal persona, who your ideal customer or client is and what motivates them, do you find being that you do sort of lean into that real community element, like are they located like close geographically to where you are, or does it just vary?
It really does vary. Like sometimes there'll be like a string of people that'll just be like, oh, I live locally and will reach out to me, but then it'll just be like randomly it'll be someone, up in Rockhampton or something
Mm,
or Cairns or something like that. So there's no um and then like I'll ask them like, oh, how'd you hear about me? Oh, just through someone had said your name or something like that, or just be like, oh, just searching and found you and just like, yeah, there doesn't seem to be any method to the madness
yeah,
sometimes.
okay. I was like, as a business owner, I just find it like wild because you start, it's just an idea. And then,
Yeah,
like, over time, like, as you build a reputation, like, people just coming from like really unexpected places, it's like, it's kind of
yeah.
cool.
It is.
Um, so, I mean, like, probably age as well. Like, do you find like age or their, like, even jobs, like, it's all pretty varied, really? Like,
It is really varied. Like, yeah, the really don't think there is yet. Like, I've got clients that are born in 2003 at the moment, and I've got clients that were born in
wow.
1934 at the moment.
Oh
So,
my gosh, wow.
there really is there's no real um, age. Yeah, I wouldn't say age plays much of a role in it that I'm aware of. Like, I guess I don't really know how other
Mm,
people perceive it.
mm.
So,
Do you know
yeah,
what, like my little marketer brain's just ticking away, and I'm like thinking you've got like from the Depression era right through to like what do they call people born in the early 2000s? Are they like Alpha, Gen Alpha,
yeah,
or
yeah,
like that's wild.
yeah.
So again, this is probably going to be hard to answer. So do you find like do they have any shared interests or hobbies, like brands that they're into? Like, and I'm just thinking for home ownership, it's so varied. Like
Yeah.
realestate.com, maybe.
I wouldn't know if there's like a hobby or a shared interest. I think for the most part, it's for the people born in like 1934, it's being able to speak to a solicitor and having that access to,
Mm,
I guess that profession holds a bit of esteem or respect with the much older generation.
hmm.
Um, and so they appreciate being able to speak to someone. Um, and then for the younger generation, I think it's more availability and access
Yeah.
than anything else. So I'll quite happily if they send me a text message, I'll happily text them back like rather than call them because I know that sometimes
They're like, oh, don't call me. Just
yeah, just text and stuff like that. So it just yeah, having the different modes of communication
Mhm.
available as well.
Yeah, it's like it's so interesting. You just like deal with such an interesting cross section of people.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, thinking about like things that motivate them in their lives and what do they want to achieve, I guess, a pretty easy one is home ownership.
Mm.
Um, which I guess has lots of different motivations behind it. But does anything spring to mind for you about like things that are aspirational to your clients generally?
Um, it just depends what the client's, I guess, trying to accomplish. If it's their first home, then it's obviously home ownership.
Mm,
But if it's, for those older clients, it's about realizing the value of their asset that they've got and potentially helping their children in the future or
yeah.
whoever in the future with that. So it just depends on which where you are in your life and what your purpose is for buying or selling. Um, sometimes people will be selling because they need to go back to renting because they can't afford the mortgage or something like that. So
Yeah,
it's not
that's tough.
always, I guess, it's not always positive the reason why they're doing
Mm,
what they're doing, but or it could be people have separated and divorced and they need to sell the house to do whatever,
yeah.
which is fine, but it's also it's not all, I guess, roses as to why people are doing what they're doing in the property
Yeah.
market. Sometimes it's out of necessity, but I'd say most of the time it's because they are at a certain point and they need to do something either
Mm,
tax wise or they're trying to get into the market or you know build their property portfolio or
yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah, it's such a like it can be quite an intense kind of like thing to be involved in, depending on what the reasons are behind it. And I'm sure you've experienced the same, like when it is a really like, say a tough separation or like, maybe a loved one's passed away and they're like an executor and they're trying to sell, like you say, it's not always a fun, joyful experience, but it's like being able to be there for that person or people
Yeah.
through this big thing they're going through. So when we think about pain points, like what are your customers' frustrations, as it relates to, I guess, your industry or your service?
Um, it can vary. Sometimes it'll be the banks, sometimes it'll be brokers, sometimes it'll
Yep.
be real estate agents. Just depends on what happened throughout their experience. Like sometimes it'll be, um, you know, so like let's say it's real estate agents, they'll be really communicative up until they go under contract, and then they'll just like won't respond to them at all. Or if it's their
Um,
broker or bank, it'll be really communicative. It's usually just the drop off of communication is
yeah,
probably the that um, that annoys people the most is just the lack of communication.
yeah,
So,
which is awesome because that's where it sounds like you shine.
yeah,
So,
it's one of
yeah.
those things that I'm always looking to increase more touch points, not necessarily action points for clients, just touch points to say, hey, you're about to move out. Like, have you told your electricity company you're moving out so you can do the final read? Have you
Oh,
disconnected
that's,
the internet people that you're leaving so you don't just like I guess having more of those touch points where the people don't need to do anything with you about it. It's just more of a
hmm.
them so that they are aware of that.
I think that's like such a thoughtful like way to approach it too, because like, realistically, you could very easily not do that, but I think it makes a huge
Yeah,
difference to the client's experience. Like you just
yeah.
taking that little extra step. So I really love that. So when we boil it down, like to the customer need, like what is the problem that we're solving for them?
Sorry, I've just got my dog, my
Oh,
changing my
hello.
bats.
Hmm.
um,
He's
so
very well behaved.
yes. Well, the other one's on the ground trying to bark
Ah,
at. Yeah, I guess the problem I guess just trying to solve is that people need um people need a solicitor to help them navigate their property purchase or sale. So
Yep.
it's really down to it's nothing too fancy or flash. It's just trying to help them get from point A to point B with as
Mm.
pain as possible, I guess.
Awesome, nailed it. So we're now moving into the journey map. So highlighting the pain points like throughout their experience. So if we put ourselves in your customer's shoes and write down what we think they're experiencing when they interact with the brand.
Mhm.
So at the phase of awareness, so they're just sort of like becoming aware of the fact that like, okay, I need to think about a solicitor. What do we think in that phase? Like, what might the actions that they might be taking at that stage?
I guess, they might be talking to people about what they're doing, or they might be Googling. Um, Most of the time, they'll talk to a real estate agent.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'd say
Awesome.
those.
And that, oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say that's probably about it.
Yeah,
Um,
that kind of touches. So, for each of the different stages, we've got the actions, the channels used, the emotions, and the pain points. So, like that almost touches as well, I think, on channels. So there might be having face-to-face convos with people on the phone, potentially with mum or dad, or,
yeah,
someone who they know is knowledgeable in property. Um, yeah, their phone or their computer for like Googling. Um, so face-to-face, phone, internet. So at that point, in that early awareness phase, like what do you think the emotions that they might be sort of like feeling could be?
trepidation, hesitation, nervousness. Sometimes it'll be excitement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I guess it just goes back to, I guess, why they're doing what they're doing is just
Mm,
the
yeah.
emotion that's
So
like
for
the
some people, the emotion might skew into sort of like almost like a sense of like anxious anticipation, maybe. Like,
yeah, anxiety. Yeah,
yeah. And if it's a separation, there could be foreboding.
yeah.
Um, so pain points at that point in time, what do we think that could look like?
At that point in time, I guess the pain points will just be so many options to choose from. Choice.
Mm,
It'll come down to, like, I guess they are so many things in front of them. They just don't know what to tackle first, or where to start.
yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a
Starting
great answer.
doing
So
their own
then,
research.
oh, sorry, I cut you off there. What were you saying?
Also, just doing their own research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can feel like you're just wading through like so much information.
Yeah.
So then once they've moved through awareness and they're now in consideration, what do we think the actions might look like at that phase?
I guess it'll be a phone call or an email, um, or a and I generally don't get many people commenting on my, like, social media posts saying, "Oh, contact me," or anything
Right.
like that.
It's
There's no
not sliding into DMs or anything. Yeah.
very rarely. Like, I'll occasionally have the occasional private message, but it's very um, that's a rarity.
Hmm. Um, and yeah, so channels is probably, yeah, phone,
Yeah,
email, maybe a website inquiry.
yeah, phone, email, website, probably the most common modes
Yeah.
of
Sweet.
that.
So then in the consideration phase, what emotions do we think they're feeling?
Um, I'd say they're probably more feeling like, let's just they just want to get through that phase as quickly as possible. Like,
Yeah.
let's just select and move on, like, and
Or like make a choice,
yeah, make a choice. And
get moving.
yeah,
Yeah. Any pain points?
I think it just might be just trying to compare apples with apples. Like, I think so,
Mm,
because I generally just have a fixed fee that's inclusive of everything, and other places will say, well, here's my professional fee, here are all my search fees, like they kind of, or that'll say, here's the fee plus disbursement, and they won't necessarily give a an additional price. They might give a range of a price. So it sort of depends.
mm.
I'd say it's probably, that might be something that's just trying to compare apples with apples.
Yeah, that complexity sometimes of other
Yeah,
people's business models can just feel like, what?
yeah,
Yeah, like it's like if it rains on the second Sunday, there'll be an extra fee kind of like.
yeah, exactly. Like, it's just yeah, just transparency around pricing is probably
Mm,
something that might be frustrating to people.
excellent. So then moving into like they've now purchased, they've made a decision, I'm going with you. At that time, what do the actions look like?
Uh, well, I generally try and make sure that they send me the contract first so that I can review it before they
Yeah.
sign on it, and then I give them a summary of that. So um, it just, yeah, there's quite a bit of communication at that point, because it's like, okay, well, they'll send it, they'll ask questions, I'll send a response back. There'll probably be a couple more questions or a phone call, and then it'll be like, okay, well, send me through the contract once it's all signed,
Hmm.
and then after that, probably like 2 or 3 days of quite a bit of communication, and
Yep.
then it'll be, okay, well, your due dates are here and here for,
Mhm.
if there's any conditions on it, we'll touch base. Um, sorry, on or
You're right.
before those dates.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, there's probably more communication at the front end and back end than there is at
Mm,
the screen.
yep. Okay. And so it's typically maybe a combo of like for the channels, like some phone calls, some texts, maybe the emails
Yeah,
going back and forth.
yeah.
And this is interesting. What do you think the emotions are at that point in time?
Depends on what it is. So if it's like at the beginning, it's probably excitement,
Mm,
relief. Sometimes there'll be buyer's remorse, um, and then there'll be seller's remorse as well. Um, that usually passes within the first 2 to 3 days. Um, and I just try and assure them that that's a normal emotion to be,
mm, hmm.
or I just try and delve a bit further and say, like, well, what's causing it? Like, why are you feeling like that? Like, are you nervous? No, and most of the time it's like, oh, it's a big process, or
Yeah.
I'm selling my house that I've lived in for 30 years, or I'm buying my first house, or,
Yeah.
um,
So a sense of overwhelm and then maybe like almost like fear of the unknown because like
yeah,
you attach so much like meaning and memories to your home that I could imagine like when you are selling, it's all fun and games until it becomes real. And then you're like, oh God, now I
yeah,
actually like I do have to start packing and I have to move. Like,
yeah.
yeah, sort of that like sense of realization maybe.
Hmm. Definitely a sense of realization.
Hmm. And any pain points at that point?
There'll be pain points depending on, sometimes there'll be frustration with technology because I'll send them like a verification of identity link to complete, and sometimes
Mm,
depending on their ability to utilize technology effectively,
yeah.
create pain points. But yeah, no, that's probably it. It's just a requirement that we have as an industry, can sometimes be a
Hmm.
pain point for the individual, because
Yep.
it's a bit more cumbersome for them, but it's also a requirement.
Yeah. We have these rules for a reason.
Yeah.
So then once they're in the, I guess, the usage phase, so maybe we'll call that sort of like maybe the middle towards the end of like the transaction, perhaps.
Mm.
Um, Actions could look like, well, I guess there's lots of things going on, isn't there? There's like Once you know it's like it's unconditional, there's like packing to do and there's moving to organize.
Yeah, exactly.
So they might be dealing with like different, removalists. Who knows? Like if they're buying a property, like dealing with making sure the settlement happens on time, like, oh my God, there's a lot
Yeah.
going on. So at that point, channels could be like they're still having phone conversations or text conversations with you, like as things kind of like transpire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely still having those touch points along the way. Um, and then it'll usually be a case of as it's getting closer, it'll be okay if you're selling, like, does your bank have your account details for excess funds, or
Mhm.
I need to telephone you and obtain them from you. Um, or if you're buying it, it'd be like, well, how much funds are your bank supplying and what's your contribution, and then working out, just telling them where they need to have their funds. So
Mm. Mhm. Yeah, because it can be so painful if like a form is missed or like, a piece of ID or, whatever the case is, and like it can just completely hold up like the
yeah,
banks or settlement. So yeah, I could imagine that would be like an intense kind of like little phase. So emotions at that time, like are they a bit heightened, like a little bit sort of like
they can be. It's really like it really just comes down to the person's personality,
mm,
uh, as to how they handle it. Some people are just, yeah, I it's really a mixture.
yeah. Okay.
So yeah, some people are yeah, really anxious and nervous, and other people are just like, oh, just let me know when it's done.
Yeah.
So um
So you've got like the cool, calm, and collected, and then the
yeah,
nervous Nellies.
exactly.
Awesome. Any pain points during that sort of like, moving towards settlement kind of phase?
It can be if there's like if they had a belief, or they believe that the bank was supplying more money than what they were,
Mm,
or something like that, or if there's if there's a missing document at the last stage, or there's a requirement for, it's usually just like last minute stuff that gets brought up that
yeah.
can't necessarily foresee coming.
Do you ever have like headaches with like pre-settlement inspections?
Yeah, sometimes there'll be headaches with pre-settlement inspections. It just depends on the nature of the what the complaint is. Sometimes it'll be buyers that are going over it with a fine tooth comb, and sometimes it's giving them some tough love and saying like, there's just no, like, I understand that that's frustrating. I'm not going to raise
Mm,
it because it's not something that the seller is going to rectify, and it's just going
yeah.
to create stress for everyone
Yeah.
unnecessarily. But then there'll be other times where it's like, oh well, yeah, obviously let's fight that, because that's unreasonable,
Mm, yeah.
as well. So it just really just depends, the pre-settlement
Yeah.
inspection.
So many like different scenarios.
Yeah,
So
and
then like, okay. Oh, sorry, I didn't catch that last bit.
some people don't like being told like, oh, I'm not going to do that for you. But it's also like, I'm not saying it because it's more work. I'm saying it because there's a reason behind it. It's not
Mm, yeah.
okay, this or
100%.
that. Like it's like, you left all this rubbish in your house, and the buyer can't be expected to remove it. So you either need to agree to a price reduction or go and move
Mm,
it.
yeah.
It'll be like, oh, whose side are you on? It's like, well, I'm on the side of the contract which says that you can't leave that stuff behind. So,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
but
Yeah,
then
I had some doozies back in the
yeah,
day.
where people say, oh, well, you never told me that, and it's like, I shouldn't need to tell you how to be an adult. So
Like, it's common, yeah, just like common sense kind of
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
exactly. So
Uh, yes. I always found it so weird that there's more stipulations around like moving out of a rental than there is out of a sale. Like I just
yeah,
it's funny when you think about it.
oh, it is. It's yeah, it's
Yeah. So then okay, let's say happy days, settlements happened. At the point of like the transactions completed, what does retention look like? So in terms of actions as far as the client's concerned, I guess, they would either move in or move out
Yeah.
of the property that they
Hmm.
bought or sold. So the move happens and they sort of settle into whatever that next phase looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to jump in.
No, 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 yeah, no, that's it. And yeah, I don't really know, like the retention side of things, like it just depends. Like most of the time it's a one-off um
Mm,
engagement with that particular client. Or if it isn't, it'll be some years before you hear from them again, sort of thing.
yeah,
So
yeah,
uh, just depends.
yeah.
Depends on if they're selling and buying at the same time, then there'll be more retention with that. But I guess
Hmm.
that retention is it's hard to unlikely to have like a high retention just simply because of the nature of the service and the
Yeah.
nature of what you're
It's not
doing.
something people do,
Yeah.
super regularly.
It,
And I
whatever.
guess maybe I'm just thinking like best case might be they've had a great experience and they're like, recommend they start like letting people know, hey, I had a really good experience. If you're buying or selling, you should,
Yeah,
reach
exactly.
out.
That's probably something that I know is area of improvement for me is trying to direct those people to then go to like my Google business page and leave like a
Mm,
5-star review and stuff like that because it's not something that's front of mind for me. It's like, okay, great, you've had a good experience. Like I don't I it's yeah, just one of those things. It's a process improvement for me to have for them to um go and leave
try
a
to
review.
collect the social proof. Yeah. And it can be really hard to motivate people, like particularly, I guess, when you think about they're in this huge whirlwind of like, more often than not moving house and like there's a lot going on. So it's like, how can we, yeah, motivate them to like go and share about their experience?
Yeah.
So like during that phase, emotions, maybe relief, do you think?
Sometimes I think sometimes it just depends. Again, depends on the individual as to how they
Mm,
process
mm,
that. If there's issues with pre-settlement, it usually ends up leaving a bit of a sour taste in either party's mouth because they're just like,
mm-hmm.
"Oh, I didn't like that at the end, and it has generally nothing to do with you. It's just that's the thing that they remember of the
Yeah,
experience.
yeah,
But this thing came up at the last minute and it was really frustrating or annoying.
yeah.
Um,
Damn that peak end rule. It's like a biopsychology thing. Like if the end is really like, yeah, painful,
yeah,
that can be the thing that like sticks in their mind, which is so annoying because,
yeah,
obviously you've done your job, you've done a good job, it's gotten to conclusion of the transaction, and it's just like sometimes it's just out of your control, like those
very
painful
much so.
little things. So any pain points that you can think of that they could be feeling once all everything's said and done? I guess we kind of maybe just touched on that.
Yeah, it just depends. I guess it just depends on their how organized they are. So
Mm,
whether or not it really comes down to again personality as to what sort of person they are and how they deal with whether they're bought or sold. As to whether or not they're most of the pain points are self-inflicted.
yeah.
So it's kind of hard to assist them with those because it'd just be like, well, I can't tell Australia Post to redirect your mail, like, or
Oh God.
things like that, where it's just, I can't actually do that. Like,
Yeah.
that's not my job.
Life
That's
admin is not my
yeah,
jam.
exactly. And some people will be look at you or like say like, oh, but like, why not? Like, so like, because
Um,
right up.
yeah, like welcome to adulthood. Um, so I feel like the brand values stuff, um, you really probably I think we touched on all of that in the questionnaires, but like outside of like the trustworthiness, is
Hmm.
there any like specific values that come to mind for you?
No, just I guess I think I had mentioned it in the questionnaire, just like authoritative,
Mm.
expert, that trustworthiness, um, client focused, and then I guess as a business, community minded.
Yep. And sort of like that speed, like almost like the access, a byproduct of that is like, the speed at which they get to like move from point A to point B. Because if you're on the weekend and you go with someone else who just like they're not going to see this until maybe 10 o'clock on a Monday once they've had their coffee or whatever, like
Yeah,
that's going to feel like a really different experience. So that like sort of speed and the what do you call it? You sort of like contracting that process of like getting from point A to point B of like wanting to make an offer to having the contract signed.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, so we'll just put speed of service maybe. I'll think of a better way, obviously, to
Yeah,
word all
sure.
of that. Um, so you've absolutely blitzed this. Um, I'm just thinking if there's anything else that's like really vital that I really want to touch on. So you mentioned you don't specifically sort of have like a brand tagline or a slogan as such. Is that important to you or?
I'd like to have something there that is. I just think that it's potentially like a piece of the puzzle that's missing.
Yeah.
Um, and it may not be necessary. Maybe something like, oh, well, we don't need to worry about that. But I feel like it's something that should be in. It should be there. Like it's
Yeah. I think to help with that brand recall and the
yeah,
recognition, like it definitely does help. It's just trying to find the right thing that like touches the right emotional buttons and
yeah,
doesn't feel like, I don't know, cliche or lame, because like
yeah,
some slogans you're just like,
yeah, yeah,
really? But yeah, okay, we will work on that because like there's so much gold that I'm kind of like, getting
yeah.
from all of these our discussion. This isn't on the questionnaire, but just something that I am curious about. So, um, was there something in particular that made you want to get into this line of work? Like, I don't know, was it from personal experience or you just thought it was a good career or like, I don't know, it could be a combination of things maybe.
It was actually family business. So my dad was
Ah,
did it beforehand sort of thing, and I've kind of like taken over, and yeah, so it's probably that like just continuation of the family business, and like Go Conveyancing's a offshoot of that sort of thing.
yeah.
Um, but it's just yeah, just that's probably it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. And I really love that because I feel like that really ties in nicely to the community element and the family owned, and it feels like, I don't know, wholesome, and it feels like,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that. Um, so I was just thinking, I'm pretty happy actually. We've gone through this really, really like nice and speedy. So super efficient. Do you feel like is there anything we haven't touched on either today or in the questionnaires that you feel like is really essential for me to know before I dive in?
I don't think so. I think that the questionnaires were really thorough. I think it's been good to expand upon everything that we've talked about today. Um, yeah, nothing that strikes me as needing attention or like something that's missed or anything. Just yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Well, I know you're probably really super busy, so I won't hold you if there's nothing else you think I need to know. But by all means, if you jump off the call and you think, oh, I should have said X, Y, Z, you can always like reach out, send me an email, or send me a DM, whatever's easy for you communication wise.
Yeah.
And so I guess the process moving forward from here, what it looks like is I kind of go into my design cave. So things on my end, it's like for you that lull, the middle part of the contract. I'll, go a little bit quiet, because I'm going to take all of this information and I really like to, let it digest and mull over. And then I create what I call your brand presentation. And it's a really thorough presentation. It's not just like you see a single logo against a white background, because that can be very like, I don't know, does that represent my brand? Maybe. So we really dive deep, like it goes into all of the strategy and the decisions of why I've made certain design choices based on everything we've touched on. And you'll get to see lots of incredible mock-ups, so you can really get a sense of, in real life, is this going to look great on, say, a banner at a one of the sporting teams that you sponsor. So I'll try and like think of things that you would actually use in the real world and sort of like create mock-ups that suit that context.
Amazing.
So I like to allow, give or take, about 2 weeks, just for me to mull all of that over, draw everything together. But by all means, I always encourage, if you're feeling a little bit like, oh, I'd like to hear, like, where, like, please feel free. You can always reach out. I'm always available, to talk on email and, over the phone or whatever. If you have any questions, just, let me know. Otherwise, I'll let you get on with your day and go start designing.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Amazing. Well, it's been a pleasure. I'm so glad we got to chat and I get to know more about your business. And I can't wait to see what we come up with.
That'd be fantastic. Thanks so much for your time today.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.